Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey, guys.
Ruben Bressler.
Well, hey there, neighbor. How's it going?
Oh, it's another wonderful Thursday in January 2022.
Perfect.
It doesn't feel like we have a whole new year ahead of us here, but we do.
I mean, yeah, January's always kind of weird for Magic. It feels more hopeful than last January.
I don't know, man. I'll be honest. I think so, in some ways. And then in some ways it makes me sad. Sure. But if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. And we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get a chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffing.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day.
Did you say CoolStuffing.com?
Cool Stuff Inc. If I screwed that up.
Cool Stuffing.
Cool Stuffing.
That's a good.
I like Cool Stuffing.
That would be a good holiday card.
That would be a nice holiday card. I agree. But yeah, so we kick off with the first pick this week, and it is the creation of the Pauper format panel. We're talking the Pauper format, which of course is all commons, the all common format, is its own format with its own ban list and its own metagame and its own, as they would describe it, unique challenges. Like, for example, when they make a Modern Horizon set, they're probably going to break something in Pauper. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me get my Chrome browser up here. 2 seconds. Chrome right there. All right, cool. So they talk about the unique challenges where Commander Legends and Modern Horizons 2 can just do crazy stuff. Fall from Favor had to get banned. Shatterstorm had to get banned. And it was tough. And it took a long time for those things to get banned because Wizards, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many developers and designers and so on. And so they're going to make the Pauper format panel. This is kind of similar to the Commander Rules Committee thing and also kind of the Commander Advisory Group. But the Commander Rules Committee has complete control over the ban list and what happens there. And these guys are just kind of like really good at telling them, what they should probably be doing as a group. But ultimately here we have, is it Murso or Mirko? Murso Chiavata. Emma Partlow from the UK, Ryuji Saito from Japan, Paige Smith in USA, shout out to her. Alex Ullman.
Our very own Maverick Girl.
Oh yeah, Alex Ullman and Alexander Weber in Brazil, and all those guys are going to be part of the new panel with, of course, Gavin Verhey.
Right. So
nice.
This is the future. This is what formats are going to become. I am hopeful that they just do this for Legacy and Vintage.
They should do it for Eternal formats. They need an Eternal format.
And Modern, honestly. Like, if they just want to farm out competitive... I don't think that Wizards of the Coast or the designers necessarily have the time or the bandwidth or the spoons or whatever, or even the want to manage the formats once the cards are designed. They're not there to manage formats. They're there to make the game. And so I think that the creators, people like the Maverick Girl and Alex Ullman, who've been working on Pauper as a format for a decade, since Pauper has become a format, are the right people to put in charge, just like the Commander Committee are the right people to put in charge. They're living, breathing formats. You want the people who are there in the trenches managing them.
I think that's definitely true. I do have some concerns given that, they're not Wizards employees and how much control do they actually have? Does Wizards have final say on things, and then these people are then taking a bunch of grief, similar to the way R&D takes a lot of crap when things are not banned, but realistically we know that behind the scenes that is not necessarily their call. They can put in a vote for something one way or the other, but if it's selling boxes or whatever, then a lot of other factors go into it. And I just worry that some of the more outward facing people, they will not have the protection. I guess it's not even protection, but they don't work for Wizards, right? So
right.
Now, the Wizards definitely has the final say, and they say, look, they predict that the PFP decisions will be taken wholesale and put into action, but there may be additional questions that we should dig into. But often play design will trust the expertise of the PFP,
especially in Pauper. They're not gonna. It's not a ban Ragavan. Well, we don't want to ban Ragavan because we won't sell packs
because
situation.
Business reasons, right?
Right. Like if we ban Chatterstorm, we're not going to suffer our bottom line. Exactly. So I think that is less of a concern for Pauper specifically.
And Sligo in the comments here, exactly. I would just say put Menindian, Brian Kelly, Rich Shea, Randy Bueller, VSL crew, the person who won the vintage championship or whatever, the person who won the legacy championship of the last year.
Yeah,
put a consortium of people who care about those formats, because I assure you, if Wizards doesn't care about Pauper format, I feel like they care even less about legacy and vintage.
Sure.
It just does nothing.
I think that it is good to have people like that. I also appreciate that the list includes, first of all, names I don't recognize. Same from Pauper and Commander, because it means that they are digging deeper than I am. The lists are both significantly more widespread in terms of nationality, gender, and time played of the format. Like, I love those guys you mentioned, but they're all kind of the same person in terms of their perspective on vintage, which is the guru, right? The guy at the top of the mountain that you go for information. But do we really need all three of them on the vintage, panel council
or whatever council? Sure.
So I think that having someone like Brian Kelly, Rich Shea, Steve Menendian is a good idea, maybe even two, but also a person who loves vintage and isn't a white dude from America.
Sure. I mean, let's go. Let's get as much, different varied voices as we can.
I also love that there were multiple community in Japan. There's a huge vintage community in Europe. So
I love the fact that there was someone from Japan I'd never heard of before, but they made, Pauper content, for Japanese players. And I was like, that is just awesome. And I love to learn that stuff. And so let's, get as many varied voices in there as possible. But overall, I think this was a great change.
This is the future. This is the future. I think that, and I hope it's the future.
I mean, the only thing that's bad about this announcement, as I said on Twitter, was that it took this long. It took till 2022, when if this had existed in 2015 or 2016, they would be able to do tons of good work through the release of the first Modern Horizons, the release of all the different Commander products around then that shook up stuff so much. But, better late than never, and I will take a good idea no matter how long it takes to get here.
Now, I wonder, I think we all agree that this is a good idea, especially for formats like Pauper. But now, if we have a line, where is it? Like, do we want panels for Standard as well?
I don't think so. I think the line is
Pioneer. I think Wizards can handle Standard, and Pioneer, arguably Historic, is right there. And then everything beyond that should have people who they play the format in this huge format that has a ton of decks that takes a lot of time.
Modern is interesting.
I think Modern could use one.
I think that my line is probably Vintage. I don't even know if you want Legacy to have this yet. Because I think the line is placed where Wizards is comfortable passing off wholesale changes.
Sure.
Because they don't really make money from Vintage. They don't really make money they make money from Legacy and Vintage when they print Ragavan and Murktide Regent.
A little bit.
But they don't make as much money or lose as much money from bans in Modern. Sure. I think that's where the line is for me.
I'm wondering too, back to the point of these are not Wizards employees. So these people are affecting competitive formats that we've seen GPs in or have Pro Tours in. And I don't know if that is necessarily, whether or not the format would be better is completely separate. But I don't know if, having civilians deal with those formats and have them take the beating for it is necessarily the best sphere. So things like Pauper, where it's more in the casual sphere, seems more correct.
Yeah.
Again, I think that having it for Modern and even Standard we would probably do better. But I don't know if that's good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Pauper was originally a community created format as well as Commander, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense for the community to have the triumvirate of people managing it and like giving the pauper back to the people, as is the title of the episode. And Commander having the same thing. It was created outside of Wizards of the Coast's headquarters, whereas these other formats weren't. So I think maybe the line is there.
I think my line is wherever the competitive side of Magic is. Now, if they want to employ these people and have them come in under their banner and hire a team to then fix the format, I think that's great. But I think having, competitive Magic decided by people who are not under the Wizards banner is a scary place for them.
Actually, I think you could be really successful with this type of thing for Cube. I think a cube format panel that would help with the vintage cube on NTGO and would help with the arena cube. And they would have design philosophies that they could talk about and work through, and people who would really, really give a crap. I'm not saying Wizards don't give a crap. I'm saying there are people who seriously, really give a crap. And you should give those people the ability to explain their expertise and why they feel a certain way and maybe help make things different or more interesting as a result.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I mean, for the cubes, it's weird because those are constantly shifting and changing, and there isn't really a band list.
Not so much, but there are changes, right? And there are changes that they would suggest. There are changes that they would, be able. It's also sort of like one less thing that Wizards would have to, kind of pick at and take care of that much. You know what I mean?
And we could have. Rotating cubes. I mean, I think you're right. We have people, especially in these casual formats, that really, really care. And I think we would have much better formats across the board, regardless. And I think that would be great for Moto cubes, arena cubes, the whole shebang.
Sure.
Heck, they've even had some content creators make their own draft formats and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that adds to a lot of the flavor of Magic. My concern is only the competitive side. And who knows, we might not even have that anymore, so it might be irrelevant.
I guess we'll see. We're going to move on now here to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. Let's get into our first topic here, and that would be the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty World Building panel. It was totally sweet. I really enjoyed it. My ex-employee Daniel Holt was there. He's a part of the set. My God, they called him a game designer. That was awesome. I wasn't expecting that one either. So big ups to Daniel. That was terrific. And the whole thing was just really cool. How they gave a lot of thought about why they were going into the future, what changed in the future and the past, why there is going to be part of it in the past, kind of part of it's in the future. The colors that would use the futuristic parts of Kamigawa and the colors that wouldn't. They showed a bunch of really amazing artwork, which was just absolutely incredible. Overall, I was super pleased with it.
The whole entire world building seems nuts. Like even just the intro teaser art, right? With like the raccoon or whatever. It's all super amazing. I think it's by far one of the best world building themes that we've seen in the last few sets. And I was really excited about Kaldheim, things like that with the more Viking theme. And the art has just been phenomenal the last couple of sets, but I think this one takes the cake.
Yeah. I think that they fumbled the ball pretty badly on Kaldheim. I think they could have done a lot more with it.
I agree. There was Mark Rosewater was talking he has a question on the blog talk was what was the most Magic feeling set in terms of fantasy and lore, and what was the least most Magic feeling set? And I don't think you kind of look at it in that lens. I think you just look at it as which one felt like the bigger missed opportunity, and it felt like Kaldheim by like a mile.
I liked Kaldheim. And we needed a Viking set, but we didn't really get the feeling of the 10 realms.
Right. They tried so hard, and it just...
So hopefully we get more of that with Kamigawa. And honestly, I think a lot is really helped by these D&D lore setting books. Because the D&D people know how to build a world. They don't even have a competitive scene to support the world, and yet I can tell you 100 individual characters from Theros, Ravnica, and then D&D settings, right? I mean, so
in Kaldheim's defense, this is the first time we've been there, and this is at the start of the once every 2 month produce a set rush, right? Like we weren't there very long.
Right.
So if we're only getting this set for the first time, we only get it for 7.5 weeks or something before spoilers for the next set goes, you're not going to feel really immersed. And I think that's just the way it's going to be. And it's the first time we don't really have a new set with like a block as well. We're used to being introduced with these with 3 sets taking almost an entire year's worth of time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we literally just did not. I think we did not spend enough time on what makes the different 10 lands or whatever unique, the 10 different regions. Like, I'm not saying it necessarily wasn't on the cards. I'm saying that if you were going to make 2 sets like back to back that were supposed to work together and mean something, it should have been Kaldheim and Kaldheim Part 2 and not Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt, because and both of those sets, by the way, have been like very disappointing. I was, and not just like personally disappointed, like as in like I wasn't very excited by a lot of it. I didn't fall in love with any of the limited formats. They were okay, but they were kind of skewed in different ways. And yeah, I'm hoping that Kamigawa just reignites that sense of creativity and excitement, particularly around standard and some limited environments, because after going to Innistrad twice, I'm like, I'm ready to try something different.
So was that a function of having been here before? Or was that a function of the long layoff between sets?
I don't know. I mean, I think the sets themselves didn't have the most exciting cards in them. I mean, we didn't see a lot of sort of huge changes between both sets. The Crimson Vow was busted and limited with Black Red again, just like we had suffered through with AFR, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was weirdly disappointing. And again, we had the, how many werewolves are in the werewolf set and why are there more werewolves or common werewolves or whatever it was in the vampire set, yada, yada, yada.
Right. But that is more of there are no dragons in Dragon's Maze problem.
Right.
I'm curious more about the perception of why it feels that way. Mm-hmm. Because obviously they could twist knobs and they could add more werewolves to the werewolf set. Mm-hmm. But I don't think our feeling of having spent too long on the plane will have changed if we do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, again, I feel like if we were going to spend that amount of time with a plane, I feel A, it either had to be Ravnica because everybody loves Ravnica, or B, I think it would be in a good way to introduce Kaldheim and what makes Kaldheim really interesting. 2 snow sets, like working together, talk about 5 of them, 5 of the different regions and the other 5 different regions, and be able to put them together in interesting ways. Maybe have some storytelling for characters from the first set to the second set. I think there was a lot of opportunities to make us really, get into Kaldheim, because it was like, hey, it's a rock set, rock band, metal music, secret lair, next set, let's go. And they're like, what happened? We were just talking about snow a minute ago. And then we had to leave
the build up to Kaldheim was so dope.
It was neat. Like, it was exciting.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's still hope for it though. Cause like I said, this is the first time where we're not necessarily locked into sets. This is, we did see Innistrad twice right here, but in the last few sets it's just been a kind of one and done thing. But later down the line we'll revisit Kaldheim and hopefully get kind of flesh it out a little bit. But yeah, I think you were saying we should have done, which one you said, Ravnica, because everybody loves Ravnica. I would argue that people also are near and dear to their hearts as far as Innistrad.
Yeah,
like that is usually everybody's favorite. I mean, Prof just did a big thing where he opened an Innistrad box because it was his favorite set. And I think that is probably on par with most popular sets, right?
I agree.
And in terms of, sort of like the original Innistrad, absolutely. And I'm not saying it's not sort of like a world that people don't like. I feel like, ultimately they were very kind of ho-hum kind of sets, basically. The mythics were okay.
I think the sets were.
The rares were fine. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't some crazy cool, thing that kind of jumped out of them, in my opinion. And again, I think the sales saw that. And I think when we were talking about, the sets that I have completed on Arena, as the year has gone on, I've collected less of each set as we've moved forward. And the big drop off was with the Innistrad sets, because again, after a whole year of it, I was like, all right, Innistrad and
Midnight Hunt was kind of just a slog to play through. I also did not collect a ton of it. I think Crimson Vow is one of the better of the bunch. You said that you think Rakdos is overpowered. I mean, I have had good success with all the archetypes, and that's kind of where I draw my line. Unlike AFR, where it was like the only thing that was playable, more or less. This one is more balanced, I think.
AFR, I mean, yeah, AFR, like it was. I mean, when your mechanic is make more mana / lotus petals, you're probably going to be one of the best mechanics in Limited, just period.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on from that, there was an announcement here, bring it up here on the screen, for the Challenger decks 2022. There were Pioneer Challenger decks that happened last year that landed with a big wet fart. And it was kind of sad. But they're bringing them back, everybody. They're releasing April 1st, which, if I recall correctly, is the same day as Unfinity.
Yes.
These are the 60 card main deck, 15 card sideboard, fully playable standard decks this time around. They're going to be mono white aggro. I'm guessing you get a Thalia. There's going to be blue black control. There's going to be black red Rakdos vampires and green red Gruul Stompy. So, okay. I mean, it's hard to do constructed play right now.
It's also hard to release a thing on the same day you release another thing, particularly if it's an unproduct being released on April 1st. These are going to get buried. And, with the Pioneer ones, I can tell you from experience, a lot of those decks just got opened for singles because they just, who's playing Pioneer? I don't know, particularly who's playing Pioneer at stores. Like,
Pioneer was announced 2 weeks before the COVID.
Right.
So, I'm hoping, I have serious hope that Pioneer will be a thing, because it didn't have a chance to do a thing before we were like, okay, no more play.
Right, everything stops and sucks.
I have hope that Pioneer can recover. I think that the issue with the last year's Challenger decks were Pioneer. Were there Challenger decks the year before that?
Yes.
What were they? Were they standard?
Yes, I believe they've been standard every time until then, and they were
Pioneer. And those were fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my major issue with the Challenger decks isn't that they're releasing them. It isn't that they're standard. It's that they're releasing them on the same day as another product.
Yeah. Release them on the same day as like a very casual product that, this is a very competitive product. So, I mean.
Okay. So if you're going into the store and you're a casual player, you'll pick Infinity. And if you're a competitive player, you'll pick the Challenger deck.
You'll get a new deck, I guess. ? I don't know. I mean, Wizards has removed itself from competitive play, particularly high-level competitive play, quite a bit. So maybe this will work in a pinch for F&M. But either way, let's move on here to the new Persistent Petitioners promo. This showed up in a secret layer as one of the bonus cards. And Persistent Petitioners is already a very expensive card. Literally any card that says you can put any number of these in your deck is going to be worth a whole bunch of money, because you can put any number of them in your deck, which means you need 50 plus or whatever if you really want to do anything with them. These are bird people, and they are rapping, and that's incredible. And I don't know what else to say about that.
They're pigeons. They're street pigeons with a boombox.
Need seeds, yo. Lots of seeds, man.
These are amazing. This is so funny. Which one do these come in?
I don't recall which one this one popped out of. It was probably a recent one, is my guess. If anybody in the comments in the chat knows, I would love to confirm this. But I know it came from the sort of the Rarities and Oddities Facebook. It's just brilliant, and I love it, and I can't get over how silly it is. And that's just that. All right. Let's see here. Interesting story from Gabby Sparks, who noted that she is not going to come back to work at Channel Fireball after her maternity leave, which I thought was interesting. Take a look at that. Bring it up on the screen here. And yeah, it's in light mode, and I'm not logged in now, am I? But she knows they're going to be taking time for herself, figure out what's next. She's going to spend time with her baby, of course, to get back in shape and doing some streaming for fun. It leaves her contact information there for those who are working with CFP currently. And yeah, it's just kind of a passing of the torch type. Things won't be the same as Gabby moves on.
Yeah. I mean, she was there for a year-ish.
Pretty long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, when she became head of content creation management type person, about a year, I think. So, I mean, new mom, yay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's not surprising. The direction of CFB has shifted. The direction of Gabby's life in general has shifted. I feel like this is a natural progression, and while it is sad that we will see less of Gaby, presumably in the social sphere, taking more time to be at home with your kids is great. That's a great thing to do.
I mean, she might pick up, she said streaming. So she's actually kind of, as far as being visible, I feel like she's kind of fallen off because she's just been doing the more behind the scenes stuff with CFB. But now hopefully her streaming stuff will pick up and we'll be seeing more of her.
Yeah. And speaking of streaming, we're moving here to Desperate Ravings, which and check out our altar sleeves, everybody. Support the show by using the code MAGICMIKES at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altersleeves.com/magicmikes. Check those out. They're great. So Jeff Hoogland noted something that happened for the very first time from running a Hooglandia Open, which have been very successful by and large. He noticed that it was the first time in almost 24 events run they actually lost viewership during the final rounds of the tournament. Oh, look, it's the cat oven deck. It was banned in standard because it was tedious. The fact it's still legal in historic needs to change. So the Jund cat oven thing got up into at least the finals and made everything suck.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that it is not overpowered. I don't recall Cat Oven being looked at as the best deck in historic, although it did make the finals of this event, and
it's pretty good.
For play purposes, it's miserable. This would be a Sensei's Divining Top style ban, where the matches just take too long.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with one of those two things going away. It will still technically exist because Cursebound Witch is in the format.
I mean, yeah, but if that's where you're getting your cat oven or whatever combo, I'm totally okay with that because you have to, hit it and blah, blah, blah. Right. But like getting 4 cats and 4 ovens, it was just terrible. Again, this is a Sensei's Dividing Top. When you're not, when you don't have counterbalance, it's still annoying as hell. Into your turn top, into your turn top. Like
end of your turn cat oven, end of your turn cat oven. I can see how that would lose viewership.
5 clicks, 6 clicks. Oh my God, you made food from something else. 7 or 8 clicks. Ugh. It's just the worst. Now, Nerd Girl, tell us a little bit about the Decathlon finals. Some people wanted more time, and you were also talking about the rewards that the event was giving.
Yeah, so the Decathlon finals, it was 24 hours from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. from Saturday morning to basically Sunday morning. And you could get between 1 and 3 bullets. And unlike most formats where it's either best of 1 to 7 wins or best of 3 to 5 wins, this was best of 3 to 7 wins. So you could potentially be playing 9 matches best of 3 Magic. In addition to the drafting part, which, if you have 3 bullets, that is a lot of Magic. I played for like 10 hours or some obnoxious number, and I was so exhausted.
Yeah, they gave you a very small window, essentially, to get, let's see, what was the exact amount of time? Was it like 24 hours? Like 20?
It was exactly 24 hours, from 8 to 8.
Yeah, that's a lot. So
to try to fit in 3
up to 3
drafts, let's say I have to go through the max. And
9, so that's
9.
I go 6 and it wouldn't be 9. Wait, it would be 9. Yeah, so 9, 9, 9. 27 matches plus 3 drafts. Yeah, that's a lot to do in 24 hours.
I mean, that's just a lot on almost anybody. So, and I understand that, Wizards kind of came in there and was like, look, we wanted to make the window small, at least to start, to see if enough people got tokens to draft and enough people were able to play in the event. And of course they were. So this is all like good problems, but it's still a problem. But ultimately, Nerd Girl, the prizes were also kind of weird, weren't they?
Yeah, the prizes were a little funky because half of them were cosmetic. So the first time you unlock them, great. But then the second time, those floors are basically nothing. They only had 3 floors that you could actually cash in twice. That was the wild cards and the draft tokens. Even the final floor where you get 1 of each of the new Kamigawa
one card of each.
set, one card of each, that was only redeemable once, which was kind of in the fine print of the event, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that makes
you could
no
still
sense.
get the wild cards and stuff. I would have liked to have seen you, if you earn 3 bullets, if you've paid the entry fees to get the Decathlon bullet, you should be able to cash that out. And I would like to see alternate prizes for the cosmetics, even if it's something small, 100 gold, 100, some gems, some wild cards, something small to replace the thing that you're no longer getting, because we did earn them. And I was the first person to defend the Decathlon entry fees being pretty miserable, as was the general consensus, because it was a satellite. But that's the thing. Once you've earned your satellite token, you should be able to cash your prizes.
And like not being able to get Cashman 3 times was just like Wizards.
That's bizarre that the top prize, they wouldn't just give you one of each additional card.
Yep.
It's not
so
bizarre.
I think if you get it twice,
you
should do it twice.
Yeah. It's not bizarre. It's greedy. Wizards, stop being so damn greedy. This
okay,
sucks.
well,
and even if it wasn't a conscious choice,
don't attribute to malice. ...
Right. So if I'm not doing that, let's go ahead and say the perception comes off as greedy. And
sure, the perception is certainly that it's greedy, and they have a history of being greedy.
Right. So if you're going to spend 6 hour whatever plus to try to get to these 7 wins, give them a set of the freaking 0s and 1s. All right. This isn't any shipping you have to pay. This isn't any extra you got to pay a programmer. Just program it the right way.
And then they do still have to. The players that win all 3 still only have 3 of each card. They still have to play more to fill. That's a very silly thing.
Right.
That's
This to me sounds like something they didn't anticipate people actually winning more than 1 queue.
I don't know if that's true. Why would they have gone through the trouble of putting the darn fine print there in the first place? Someone had to think about it and actively decide that we don't want them to have multiple of these.
Ruben's over here saying don't attribute it to malice. I'm saying it's greedy as hell, and I hate it.
think it's greedy.
And I don't like it when they're being like really shamelessly greedy in these type of situations.
Yeah,
when they just don't need to be.
It's tough for me to argue that it isn't greedy. The more I think about it.
Even if they don't want to give us that prize again, that's fine.
Right.
But give us an alternate prize.
Right.
Put a couple extra draft tokens or something up there. Don't just like make it a blank.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one last thing for this week, which I thought was absolutely super cool to talk about, was, and this is moving into Going Infinite, but I don't have a Going Infinite that shows the web screen.
This is the first time we've had a Going Infinite with Nerd Girl, I think.
Maybe. It's been a minute. So that said, April King, at Cube April on Twitter, who is a wonderful follow, mentioned that she designs a lot of Magic cards for fun. And for Wizards folks, this is a sort of thought experiment. This is not a real design. This is just like, my silly 1 blue, draw 3 cards, lose X life. What's X supposed to be? This is very, very similar. April designed a card called Rearrange. For 1 blue mana, it's a sorcery that says search your library for any number of cards named Rearrange, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. Note, you don't have to get any of them. You could search for 0 just to shuffle your library. You can get 3, of course, if you want to, and then you have to discard and stuff, but you could argue that Curious or was it the study card?
There's a bunch of stuff that makes
There's a bunch of stuff that you could use that you
Anyway.
said, this card is broken, but is it really?
Right.
Is it?
It's a very interesting thought experiment.
Really?
So there's a couple of interesting cards to consider when looking at Rearrange. One of them, of course, is Squadron Hawk. Squadron Hawk is effectively this card for an additional mana with a 1/1 attached to it.
Right.
Because a lot of the time what you would do is search up 3 Squadron Hawks, put them back with Jace the Mind Sculptor, right? And then do it again.
Right.
So that's one thing to consider. Another one is land tax. If you remember, land tax scroll rack was kind of draw 3, build your own draw 3.
Right.
And so that's another card to consider with this card. You've also got, it is a blue sorcery, 1 mana blue sorcery. So you've got Storm, you've got Force of Will to consider. You've got any amount of things that, Phoenix, any amount of things that put things into your graveyard. It's a very interesting thought experiment because at first blush, this card does nothing, but is in fact very powerful. It's secretly Ancestral Recall in many situations.
It's a card that has a lot of weird things going on with it. I would also note that like it also sort of wonderfully calls back to me to the 90s when no one respected land tax. Now, like I'm telling you, there were whole card shops plural, who didn't really understand why land tax was restricted back in those days and didn't understand that drawing 3 cards, even if they're 3 lands, is still a huge boon and a huge step up from what you were doing. But this to me is very similar in that, like, yes, it does nothing, but anything that creates 3 cards in your hand is going to have possibilities that you didn't expect or understand or anticipate. And this is the exact type of card that I don't think Wizards would ever make, because you don't know exactly how it's busted. You just know it's probably busted. It literally does nothing, or it's broken. It's one of those cards.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting card, and I'm glad that it got made, because I'm not sure I would have ever thought of this card.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the one hand, Squadron Hawk is not broken, right? Legion Conquistador is not broken.
It's also not 1 mana.
But it's not 1 mana, and it's not blue, and it's not a sorcery. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff happening in the greater zeitgeist of Magic that makes this card significantly more busted than a white creature.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems really weird and silly, and you know, I love silly stuff like that.
Ooh, Mentor. Yeah, Monastery Mentor is another good one with this card.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's turn the corner here to the finisher. Logan Paul has confirmed that he spent $3.5 million on Pokemon cards that were fake. The box was actually full of G.I. Joe cards packed into Pokemon card boxes. Oh my God. Now, I love seeing lowest common denominators like Logan Paul get got as much as the next guy. And for the record, I also love the G.I. Joe TCG, which is 1000% correct. So tell me, where do you expect to see nearly forgotten TCGs pop up unexpectedly next, Ruben?
Secret Lair, The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, and Fortnite have exploded like gangbusters, so superhero movies can't be that far behind. To that end, I expect the fabulous foil Iron Men, Captains America, and various Hulks Incredible to be joined by a secret bonus card from Overpower, the best superhero card game 1995 has to offer.
Whoa, I remember seeing Overpower being actively played alongside FNMs. Yes, it did happen. Nerd Girl?
All right. Well, Star Trek is back with a vengeance on TV with Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks. And when you order them all on streaming services, you'll get sent a bonus, a booster box of Star Trek customizable card game, perfect for the old person in your life.
I remember the day when Picard was $50 and
yeah.
Listen, Flesh and Blood is the new hotness, but it's by no means the best dueling fighting tabletop game. So the next time a social media maven tosses $1 billion at a TCG and they get their grubby little paws on FAB, I certainly hope they're ready to 3, 2, 1 let her rip when instead of trading cards, a whole legion of Beyblades come out at their face.
Nice.
Let it rip, y'all. Booyah.
Can I tell you that for some reason, people are playing Beyblades here in Los Angeles. Like, there is people my age just have a little Beyblade stadium at their house. I've seen it multiple times.
More than once, you're telling me.
Like at least 4 times.
Wow.
I can think of people just like have a little Beyblade arena.
Yeah.
And it's like, when did this happen? Hold on.
21, and you know what? It's fine.
You know what? They are effing awesome, the Ninjurai.
They are freaking awesome. And so are you guys. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl. Thank you, Ruben.
I also like Pogs. That's a good one. We should bring Pogs back.
Definitely should not bring Pogs. Jesus, I lived through that. It was bad.
I lived through that. I had like whole sleeves of Pogs.
I had a few Pogs. See, that's dope. All right. Well, no more awesome. Pog talk. All right. Listen. Ain't Magic Pogs or Pog mics.
We should.
We could.
Pogs champ.
Pogs champ. And we move to our final slide here. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, my co-host, MTG Nerdgirl, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.